Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Monday. This is the Woo Report, episode 159, titled New Jersey Devils Are Streaking for Success. I'm your host, Sam Woo, streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, as we are global. And for those that download this podcast on our podcast pages on Spotify, iHeart app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Amazon Music Prime, thank you. Big day today as everybody's catching up on the podcast. The 3-game winning streak that the New Jersey Devils are currently on. Who would ever thought of that? The reset button hit on December 20th. The build-up, the hype. 3 one-goal games. 2 of them in overtime. Nico Hischier finishing them off. Yes, the Capitals, those Washington Capitals. Yeah. If you see on pucksandpitchforks.com, I'll bring it up right now, pucksandpitchforks.com. Nick Villano and I do the State of the Fan address every Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. He has a great article about Nasreddine deserves credit for his performance. You never would have thought. Or maybe we did. We knew that the coaches were good. But why weren't they getting results? And that's the thing that people don't realize. And I'm going to argue this over and over and over again because I've seen some comments on my Hockey Buzz blog because I wrote something on that site that said, yesterday we also saw the emergence of Devils captain Nico Hischier and his gritty performance throughout that led to the game-winning goal. And they're saying, oh, but Nico's been consistent all year long. The analytics say that. Well, if that's true, which I think Nico Hischier's put in a consistent effort all year long, but there's one problem. You got to finish them. You've got to lead a team, block shots, playing hurt, giving it your all, communicating with the players on the bench. Being the calm during the storm when the Washington Capitals stormed right back when the Devils had the lead most of the game. Analytics will never show what Nico Hischier did to get his teammates to play better and to finish them and carrying the team on his back, making sure that New Jersey will leave the Capital One Arena with the victory. Analytics don't mean anything. All they are charting are results. They don't show how the game is truly played. It does not measure emotional intelligence like a leader like Nico Hischier. And I want to point that out there because that just bothers me. Analytics this, analytics that. I'm telling you right now, it is ruining the game because the Devils' whole scouting is mostly based on analytics. And what results have the Devils fans have gotten overall in the last 8 years? You cannot discount the human element of the game. It's an emotional game. It's a game that we love because of what the mindset and the mentality of the game is more interesting to me than goals assists, points. Because at the end of the day, it's all about winning. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. As Michael Hay says on the Facebook Live, a blizzard in D.C. Now Devils did it. No word on Dougie Hamilton. Nico's military experience will show up soon, says Michael Hay. Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, leadership cannot, there is no metric to define leadership. Okay? There is none. You can try to create one. I wouldn't believe it. Because if analytics were so perfect and so on the money, explain to me how 1980 happened in Lake Placid when the Team USA beat the Soviets. All right, let's just end that. All right, it's not that I hate analytics. I just think it's so overrated. And you know what? The Devils are streaking for success, not because of numbers, okay? Not because of, what the analytics say. They're streaking right now because they're finally playing like a team, doing what the coaches have been telling them to do. Coaches like Elaine Nazardine, who deserves a lot of credit for stepping in for Lindy Ruff during the most crucial time in their rebound and relevancy of this NHL season. And I will tell you, New Jersey Devils fans, I will tell you that it is important to know that the Devils are finally trying. They're finally figuring it out. Will they revert to their old ways? Whereas what Scotty says, of sleepwalking the first period. Full effort is needed. And that is what the captain is doing. Leading by example. Dougie Hamilton gets a puck into the face. No problem. Next man up. And that's the mindset. That's the mindset that the New Jersey Devils should have. They should be all leaders on the team. Everybody led by example last night. The game could have easily gone the other way to the Washington Capitals. They are a veteran team with a lot of firepower. But yes, there were a couple players out like Nicholas Backstrom. But they still had John Carlson, Tom Wilson, Alexander Ovechkin. And let's just say that, number one, this success really has become, it's a result of simplifying the game plan. We've talked about this beating a dead horse over and over and over again. But let me tell you, less is more. Less is more. The way Damon Severson played yesterday, nearly 30 minutes of total ice time. Talk about confidence in your defenseman. Ryan Graves stepping up as his partner, the other twin tower, Dougie Hamilton, goes out in the in the first period. He only played about 2 minutes of that game, of that crucial game, the big test. Siegenthaler eating up minutes. Even PK Subban eating up minutes. And Graves as well. Ty Smith, I think, got about 16 minutes of total ice time. But they held in there in an overtime game. Almost gave up one there in the end there. Would have been devastating. But they found a way to win. And that's why they're streaking for success. There's that killer instinct that this team needs to develop to be part of their identity. We talk about identity many times on this podcast. It was Chico Resch that brought that up. What is their identity? It still remains to be seen because we need to see consistent output before we can really label them as a success. But right now they're streaking for it, and this is a very streaky team. Starting out the season, out of the gates till mid-November, they weren't that bad. Matter of fact, they were, pushing for a playoff spot in the midst of it. And then the 6 weeks of losing. If it wasn't for the Philadelphia Flyers in their losing ways, this could have been a disaster. Michael Hay says, yes, tough, hot Bruins up next. Yeah, the big bad news, Bruins. Devils go into Boston tomorrow night. Right now they have the well-deserved day off. Joey Giordino says speed definitely one component of their identity. Yeah, you know what? Speed is great, but you got to be on the gas pedal at all times. All 60 minutes in regulation and overtime if need be. Speed kills. But if you're not hustling and you're coming out flat for these games, your speed means nothing. I'll tell you what, Sharon Govich and Jack Hughes, they're a bunch of thieves out there. Stealing the puck away. Putting the pressure on. Swarming it up. Remember that term? Pete DeBoer? Swarming it up. They're buzzing around the net. Omar Ba. Hi, Sam. What a win yesterday. Well, hello, Omar from Montreal. I hope you're doing well up there. Smokey in the YouTube live says, what's the case against making Nasruddin head coach today? Well, I'll tell you what. You can make a case that Nasruddin could be head coach today. But right now, I wouldn't change a thing. Nasruddin will be a head coach in the NHL. Hopefully it's with the New Jersey Devils. We liked Nasruddin back before the first NHL pause in 2020 because of COVID. He was doing pretty well. Finally he seems like a coach that can get the most out of his players. And that's coaching. And I think he is almost ready, but I don't think he was ready back then. And I think it's still Lindy Ruff's team. It has to be. He has been coaching through Zoom, but I think a lot of us will be talking, and is what Nick Villano said in his pucksandpitchforks.com blog, is that if he can't sustain that momentum, will we be howling for Alain Nasruddin? It's amazing what winning does. It's amazing how the tide has changed with the New Jersey Devils fans, the state of the fan. We were all calling for firings. We were all calling for everyone's heads. And don't forget about Mark Recchi here. Maybe it was a work in progress. But right now, I'm happy with the New Jersey Devils special teams in their progress. There's still more work to do. But they have progressed well to the point where they are in the middle pack of the league after being dead last season and dead last in the beginning of the season, the first 5 games on their penalty kill. That now they're ranked 14th. Last I checked, over 80% success rate. That's moving in the right direction, folks. And that's Alain Nasruddin. Power play is starting to heat up. You all wanted Mark Recchi gone, but we all knew that Mark Recchi's track record from city to city to city has been good as an assistant coach on that power play. Who knows? If they can put it together where their penalty kill is lethal and can stop the opponent from scoring, and that power play starts to really consistently put in power play goals, in a timely fashion in the game. With the young kids that they have, they may make a run for that playoff spot, but they can't. There's no room for error right now. It's just too competitive for that last playoff spot, the wild card. It's just way too competitive. So I'm going to ask you, Devils fans, I'm going to ask you, do you think the Devils are going to keep going with this success or this fool's gold again? Let me know. Donnell Weaver asked me, nice Devils t-shirt in green. Where'd you get that from? Season ticket holder. They just gave it out. It's a nice shirt. Nice color. Just a simple logo. Doesn't say jersey on it. Just a simple logo. That's all I ever wanted. Just a simple logo. Best logo in all sports, as far as I'm concerned. No time to overthink, says Omar Ba. Yeah, you know what? There could be, I'm speculating, again, speculation, key word. I'm speculating that, all this time, maybe the coaches just overcoached them. And maybe they needed a timeout because if you remember the earlier reports that Lindy Ruff was saying that, hey, instead of yelling at them, pointing fingers, we started to communicate with them as coaches to kind of put ourselves in their shoes and what they're seeing and how we're conveying the message, essentially. And maybe the Devils coaches, as geniuses as they are, because Alain Nazarene is a pretty good coach. Mark Recchi has been successful wherever he's been in hockey, whether as a player or as a coach, assistant coach. And Lindy Ruff's track record speaks for itself. Maybe they were overcoached. Who knows? And now they had to simplify the game plan. Okay, boys, you got only one job to do. Now go execute it. Just go execute it. Less can go wrong. You only have one job to do. Omar Ba says, your thoughts about Neil, Sam. What are you talking about, Neil? Anyway, winning streak is the answer. One game at a time for now. Yeah, one game at a time. David Decker. It's snowing down in South Jersey. I hope you're selling a lot of 4x4 Toyotas at Town Toyota up in North Jersey in Ledgewood off of Route 46. Is it 46? Yeah, I think it's 46. Town Toyota. Get your Toyotas through David Decker and tell him Sam Wu sent you. Hopefully I'll get some kickbacks out of it. Anyway, Town Toyota does not sponsor this podcast or anything. We just love David Decker. But in full disclosure, he has hooked up hosts of the Let's Go Devils podcast with brand new Toyotas. And you know how Toyotas and other vehicles, Jeeps, all that, there are no microchips. But somehow David Decker finds a way for his fellow Devils fans. Town Toyota, Route 46 in Ledgewood, and we are not endorsed by them, but that's okay. We love David Decker. He's a Devils fan. Those listening to the podcast. Oh, okay. James Neal, the former Preds, is on waiver. Jersey can claim him. Wow. My thoughts. If you need a little beef and you need a little shenanigans, I think it would be a good pickup because, James Neal can score, in his previous life. But, I like the chemistry right now. It wouldn't hurt. David Decker said Neal ship has passed too slow. I kind of agree with that. But there is that Pittsburgh connection there. David Decker rather have Kessler. No, I'm okay. I'm okay with this team, people. I'm okay with the New Jersey Devils. As long as they are incrementally progressing in the right direction, I don't want to rush things. I don't want to, I don't think James Neal is going to be a game changer. if he was ever acquired by the New Jersey Devils. I think getting Nathan Bastian back was great because he was one of ours anyway. Just, I think the owners made out pretty well. Pockets $15-16 million from that franchise fee that the Seattle Kraken had to pay. And then, you give up Nathan Bastian only to get him back again pretty much for free. Not a bad deal. That's what we call wheeling and dealing. We're wheeling and dealing. And you can always wheel and deal with David Decker at Town Toyota, even in this market where there's no cars. Or can you? Anyway, just getting a little off topic here. Seeing all the comments, I will keep saying I love the Bastian kid. Yeah, you know what? I love how he moves out on the ice. What he's doing to other goaltenders, and I think he should be fearless. Keep doing what you're doing, Nathan. He's taking the place of a little bit of what Miles Wood would have brought to the team up front. Miles Wood being injured since preseason. I think that when Miles Wood does come back, and hopefully he does come back soon, we don't know when, probably next season, that, hopefully he doesn't have any lingering side effects from his surgery and the injury. You worry about that, what it can do. Look at Jonathan Bernier. And I think really right now, if anything, you're going to pick up a goaltender that can mentor Mackenzie Blackwood because his heel's hurting. He's playing pretty much every game at this point, every other game. I think maybe Tom Fitzgerald should start finding another goaltender for at least to the end of the season. Surprised that he didn't pick up Knobin from the Dallas Stars when they put him on waivers where he cleared. He only had 1 year left on his contract. But right now, Mackenzie Blackwood is okay. He's playing hurt. He's not bad, but I hope he can steal a couple games here and there because that's what it's going to take if the Devils really make a serious playoff run to get in the playoffs, so to speak. And again, right now we're riding this hot 3-game winning streak. If they can make it 4 after tomorrow, I think they may have a chance. But you still got to beat the BJs. You got to leapfrog. You got 2 games of the BJs. The one thing I didn't like about the Capitals game is it went into overtime. The Capitals got 1 point. You need solid points here because that 6-week losing binge was very hurtful. It negated all the success of October and patting the points on. Now it's time to play catch up. Now it's time, no room for error. Omar Boss says a fair trade needed for, to alleviate all the workload with Matt Black, Mackenzie Blackwood. And Short Sky and I talked about it on the Sunday edition of the Let's Go Devils podcast. We talked about it. And I mentioned Marc-Andre Fleury. I think he would be an amazing mentor for Mackenzie Blackwood. But a couple problems with that. Conflict of interest in the same division as the Pittsburgh Penguins. Maybe Marc-Andre Fleury doesn't want to go there. I don't know. That's just a thought. The other thing, too, I'm sure Marc-Andre Fleury doesn't want to just be a mentor. I think he wants to play. He's still got a lot of hockey left. And there's a reason why he's the first overall pick of the year 2003 by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now with the Chicago Blackhawks, Fleury is not able to keep the pace anymore. I still think he has some left in him, especially playoff time. Again, this is how it works in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Devils fans haven't been there in a while, but Just remember, it's not how good of a goaltender you have. It's who's the hottest at the moment and what are you going to do for me now? And as a good goaltender, if the other side is playing much better than you, can you gut it out and get those wins? Timely saves, momentum changers. But he will be a huge present on the team if they ever got Marc-Andre Fleury, plus the Pittsburgh connection, Tom Fitzgerald. Do we see Holtz or Foote this week, says Smokey. Well, you know what? So far, the way the Devils have been rolling, I'm not so sure. And the reason why I say that is because, well, why fix that's not broke? Seriously. Why make changes? They went with the same lineup that they did with the Edmonton Oilers, and guess what? They got the same result in overtime. Game winners. Do they play the hot hand? Smokey of the YouTube Live, do you think that they're going to play the hot hand? With the players they have now, Jimmy Vesey on protocol. You know, you got John Gillies out of protocol. But what does that mean? I would like to see Schmid get some playing time. But right now, the Devils' goaltender situation is, you're going to live and die by Mackenzie Blackwood at this point. He's going to need some help. I don't think he's a Martin Brodeur 70, 75 game a year goaltender. But he may be best when he's paired up with a similar goaltender, a tandem. Options for coaches to put in net. Pecorine, says Omar Ba. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. Isn't he retired? Thought he retired. But yeah, to answer your question, Smokey, do I see that Alexander Holtz or Foote this week? Maybe against Columbus. I think they'll go with the same lineup. Boston, they may tweak it a bit to get some beef. No word yet on Dougie Hamilton. As soon as we find out if it's major, we'll break the news here on the Let's Go Devils podcast. But, I think the Devils, they tend to control the information that goes out, and nobody really knows. I'll check Twitter right now as we're on live air. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast. Woo Report. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. I'm your host, Sam Wu. All right, so they got a day off. So maybe around noontime tomorrow, here on the Woo Report, come visit me, and maybe I'll break, or not break. I don't break any news, actually. That'd be a lie. I'll reiterate the news. I'll give you my commentary. And, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Also, check out my write-ups on hockeybuzz.com, but also pucksandpitchforks.com. I talk about Tom Fitzgerald, New Year's resolution. I also have an article about Nico Hischier, the leader. Follow the leader. That's right. Follow the leader, Nico Hischier. Nico Hischier, the captain of the New Jersey Devils. Well, dropping this podcast in about 20 minutes on all of our podcast pages. Want to thank all the live listeners, viewers. Can't do this podcast without you. You know what? It was my New Year's resolution to try to do at least one piece of content each day because the love of the fans. When we need hockey coverage, we don't take days off. I want to try it for a year. Hope you like the content. Hope you like the commentary. Glad that you're able to chime in this beautiful piece of technology called the internet and live streaming. And we'll always be there for you. And I hope you enjoy the afternoon commute You commuters out there, if you're down central South Jersey, you're going to hit with snow. If you're like me in an undisclosed location in beautiful New Jersey, I don't get affected by the snow. I seriously don't, unless the power goes out or the internet goes out. But just remember, this podcast is in a bunker. We never go out. We never go out. Just remember that. We're always here for you. The Woo Report and the Let's Go Devils podcast, State of the Fan Address, Game Day Live, Devils After Dark, Sunday edition of the Let's Go Devils podcast. You know it. You know it, folks. We got you covered. Careful on your commute back home as you're listening to this podcast. Hands 10 and 2 on the wheel. Just remember, anti-lock brakes. They'll kick in on ice, into the snow. Anyway, thank you for all those tuning in. This is the Woo Report. Till next time, let's go Devils.